All right, well, joining me now from Paris is Angel Gurria, Secretary General at the OECD. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time for us. What do you think is going to happen going forward? It's hard to tell the Germans to go out spending. Where's further economic growth going to come from?
This is a false dilemma. Effectively, you have to do both. You have to have a new balance between maintaining the recovery and at the same time focusing on the question of the deficits and the debt. Today's numbers are absolutely unsustainable. Not only are they going to spook the market, they're simply not financeable. Whether the market is spooked or not, it's almost secondary. You just cannot hold it up for too long because you're not going to be able to finance these deficits. And they are creating a confidence crisis also. It doesn't mean that tomorrow you start putting the brakes on. It means you have a plan and you have the instruments and you have the details and you have a good roadmap that is credible, that the market will buy, and you can continue to roll out your stimulus package for the rest of 2010, maybe continue to have easy monetary policies, close to zero interest rates, and by 2011, maybe the process of cutting down may start.
But so it seems that the governments around the globe are caught between a rock and a hard place. On the one hand, the stimulus programs, they started maybe 2 years ago. They're running out and many have to push through severe austerity programs, which have been spooking the markets. Witness Spain, witness Greece, and so forth. So what's the solution here? It seems there's no way out.
No, there is a way out.
Which one?
These countries that you mentioned, which are Spain and Greece and Portugal, are countries which have been focused by the market, and they probably have to start, as they have, in fact, an earlier process of adjustment. But everybody's talking about starting in 2011. The Germans are starting in 2011, going to 2016 for a balanced budget and the constitutional amendment that you mentioned. The French and the UK, the Italians all have talked about 4 or 5 year programs. It's not going to happen overnight. They're not going to put the brakes on violently. It just has to be clear that they have a good idea where they're going and how they're going to do it, what instruments they're going to use. And that has to be combined with measures that will continue to be growth friendly. That means even when you're cutting the budgets, you have to cut those things that will not affect growth. You have to cut those things that will not affect education, that will not affect research and development, the things that will move the economies in the years to come.
So allow me to bring in my colleague Francine Lacqua. Francine?
Mr. Gurria, I'm in Berlin. How do you convince the Germans to actually stop saving and start spending?
There is absolutely no reason why you should do that, and I'm afraid there's not a great possibility of success. What they are doing is they are reacting to a situation that, as I said before, was unsustainable. Now, one of the things that is going to get Germany and the rest of Europe and the rest of the world growing again is to give signs of confidence, and that means dealing with the debt. Medium and long term, there's absolutely no way that you can sustain these deficits, that you can sustain this speed of accumulation of debt. That will undermine confidence more than anything else, and then there's no amount of stimulus that will get you out of the hole. Then you really run the danger of going into a double dip and everything else. So it's really a question of sequencing, and as I said, you have to do both. It's a false dilemma that you have to choose between recovery and fiscal consolidation. You need a new balance to do both.
But
It's
Mr.
a question.
Gurria,
It takes wisdom and it takes time.
These deficits are possibly unsustainable, but 5.5% for Germany, 11.3% for the UK. It seems that a lot of the politicians prefer to give confidence to the market, saying we're able to cut the debt, but actually growth will suffer. How can it not?
There will be inevitable short-term impact in the growth, but there's going to be a trade-off in terms of more confidence. Maybe investors, maybe financial markets will react positively to see the countries are aware, they're willing to do something about it. And second, in the medium and long term, if you don't address the debt, you don't address the deficit, there will simply not be able to have growth. You will have mediocre growth, if at all. You will have high unemployment, you will have high deficits if you don't address this problem now.
So we were talking about this constitutional change here in Germany. Do other European countries have to follow suit and actually have a constitutional clause saying the deficit won't go above that 3% European limit?
The answer is not that every country has to do it constitutionally, because the tools at the disposition of every country are different. The question is, when the Germans did this, and they did it not last week, but they did it a few months ago, last year, it gives very strong signals to the market. This is about signals. This is about the language that you're using. This is about saying to the markets, yes, I will continue to favor the recovery, but yes, I'm aware what the problems are with the debt and the deficit, and I'm going to address it. And this is good, and it's inevitable that it's a difficult balancing act, but that new balance has to be achieved, as I said. There's no good in having, for media purposes, it may be good to have one person saying that the only thing they got to do is spend, and the other person saying they only got to do is cut. That is not, neither is the right opinion. I think you have, for the first time, one of the most difficult equations that policymakers have to achieve.
And Mr. Gurria, I think a lot more economists would have agreed with you a month ago, but in the last 3 weeks we've had some dire U.S. economic news, so they're not going to push us out of this recession.
Frankly, if you are living by the day's news and you're living by what happens in the stock market and what happens with the interest rates on one particular day, on the exchange rates on one particular day, you're never going to be able to succeed in making medium and long-term policy. This is about medium and long-term policy. This is about measuring the consequences of what you do today in terms of the impact in 5 or 10 years' time, not tomorrow, not the exchange rates, not the stock markets of the next 2 or 3 hours.
Now, we only have 20 seconds, Mr. Gurria, and then we'll go to break. When do you think that actually a recovery will be fully in place in Europe?
A recovery is already in place. It's weak, it's anemic. But if we give the right signals, if we give confidence, then we will underpin the recovery and we're able to have a better medium and long-term outlook.